as we sit 4 years on, where does the conflict, what's the situation in the conflict right now?
It's difficult for me to say that. I couldn't believe that we would be having this interview today, Kieran, talking about 4 years of Russia's large-scale invasion of Ukraine, but it is still ongoing. It is as brutal as it was for the past 4 years, pretty ruthless, especially this winter. There is movement on the front lines. It's not big, but it's happening on both ways. You know, sometimes Russians gain some ground at a huge cost. Recently, we have also liberated some of the territories which were originally occupied. But there is a lot of things going on. Russians are incessantly hitting our critical infrastructure, our power generation, electricity distribution. Really, this winter was extremely difficult for the Ukrainian people, and it's still pretty cold there now. Imagine it goes up to -15 at night, and when you have no electricity, you have no heating. And immediately you don't have a water supply, because if you don't have electricity, you cannot pump up the water. And most of the people in Kiev live in those, Soviet residential buildings, and it's all, the city's paralyzed. So we are fixing whatever we can fix. But while we're doing so, Russians every 3 days send more missiles and drones and undermine and creating a humanitarian catastrophe, which, as we know, is a war crime in itself. But
we're talking hundreds of thousands of casualties over the 4 years. What's the morale like in Ukraine
we're talking
today?
about 1.2 million of Russians which get killed, wounded, or captured. 1.2 million. And some estimates Russians, and some estimates say that it's about half the number is for Ukraine, right? I don't have the official statistics about that, but I think that's about right. So we're talking up to 2 million casualties, right? Killed, wounded, or captured, which is huge. And imagine that the Great Patriotic War that Soviet Union fighting against Nazi Germany last 4 years. And this war is already now longer, right? So this war is already longer. Russians have failed in their objective to destroy Ukraine's sovereignty. We're still standing strong, thanks to the support from our Western allies, including Australia. But we need that support. We need to raise the cost of war for Russia. And the way to do it is to provide more military assistance for Ukraine, to impose further sanctions. And this is where I'm very thankful to the Australian government for today's statement and new sanctions imposed on different sectors of the Russian economy. But also we need to isolate Russia further, because only by raising the cost of this war, we can force Putin into peace. And to do so, we need to make sure that those Russian immobilized assets, 300 billion of those, which are out there, should be used for Ukraine's armament,
is that support,
Ukraine's rebuild.
Is the support, though, so you've got the one side of the sanctions on Russia. The other is the military hardware and dollars to Ukraine. Is that still flowing at a level necessary to provide defence for your country?
European Union has stepped up, and European Union has filled in the gap of the US. Because, as you know, the U.S. has stopped providing military aid to Ukraine in 2025. They still sell the weapons we need, and we use European money, and we are very thankful to the EU. Currently, if you look at the numbers of individually as countries, in 2025, number one country is Germany in terms of military support for Ukraine. And, of course, EU as an alliance. But, we need more support.
What does Australia need to do?
Look, I'm asking Australian government to provide some consistency and support. We need more support in 2026. We need to have the support of 2026 at least at the level of 2024.
Okay.
That will be good.
2024 was what level?
And it was about 500 million per year.
Okay.
I mean, and there was, as you know, we appreciate what happened last year, but it was, the package was 100 million, which was a very important package, 95 to be precise. But the war in 2025 was as bad as it was in 24, 23, 22.
So it dropped off last year. You'd like the support to get back to where it was?
We would be very grateful to get back to where it was, because there's so much at stake for Australia. And this is not only our war. No. This is not something too far away. Russia is here in the Pacific. They intensified
So it was 500 million. Last year it dropped to 100 million, or just under that, and you want it back up to half.
I mean,
500
that
million.
would be great. And I understand all the competing priorities that the Australian government is facing, and I totally get them. But, you know, this war has undermined not only us, it has undermined you as well. And especially whatever it brings to your security, to your safety. The best deterrence we can build together is to ensure that Russia fails in Ukraine.
Yeah, it's
and
a future of it's a future of Ukraine, but arguably democracy as well.
Absolutely. And look, at the end of the day, you know, how the victory for Ukraine looks like is Ukraine preserving its sovereignty. But how the victory for everybody looks like is achieving justice. And the way we can achieve justice and make sure that Russia is punished for the crime of aggression, that we can regain eventually our territories, which we will never give up. We have to get them back, and the history will demonstrate that we'll get it back, but it will take some time.
What is there, just finally, we're almost out of time, but the peace talks have continued. Is there any glimmer of hope of a compromise?
We remain committed to achieving peace. We work closely with President Trump on this. We appreciate his leadership. But Russia is not demonstrating any real, genuine interest in achieving peace. They are interested in being involved in peace talks, but it's more, they're not doing them in good faith. They could have ended this war a long time ago. They could have had a ceasefire. Americans and Ukrainians have offered them back in March. Almost a year later, they haven't accepted it. And they keep on using the time because they feel that they have an upper hand. They feel like they haven't yet achieved their goal. And the goal of Russia is very simple. Ukraine is gone. Ukraine does not have the right to exist. That's what Russia's goal is. And we will keep on fighting no matter what, because for us, it's an existential threat.
Ambassador Vasyl Myroshnychenko, thank you for your time and for your time, sadly, over the last 4 years as this terrible conflict has continued.
Thanks for having me.